The morning sun shone through the tall windows of Lincoln Middle School as the new student pushed open the heavy front door and stepped into the crowded hallway. His bright blue backpack hung loosely on one shoulder, and his dark hair fell into his eyes as he scanned the room for a friendly face. A group of older kids leaned against the lockers nearby, their arms folded and voices low as they watched him approach. The new student tried to stand tall, even though his heart pounded like a drum in his chest and his palms felt sweaty. He pulled out a small notebook from his pocket, flipping it open to a blank page as if to steady his nerves. The bullies noticed the notebook right away and whispered something to each other with smirks on their faces. One of them pushed off the lockers and stepped in front of the new student, blocking his path with a sneer. "Hey, fresh meat," the bully said, one eyebrow raised. "What's in the secret notebook of a mouse like you?" The new student swallowed hard but kept his voice steady as he answered, "It's just my drawings and ideas. Nothing to worry about." The bully laughed loudly and reached out to grab the notebook, but the student tucked it behind his back quickly. A hush fell over the hallway, and every pair of eyes turned toward the small struggle at the lockers. The bully's friends closed in around the student, their faces folding into cruel grins as they eyed his backpack. "You think you're smart, huh?" Another bully jeered, flicking a strand of the student's hair across his forehead. The student took a deep breath, but his voice came out softer than he meant. His hands trembled slightly as he unzipped the front pocket of his backpack to show he meant no harm. The bullies leaned forward, curious about the contents, but clearly ready to mock him at any moment. A sudden bright flash of light shimmered from the notebook's cover, catching everyone's attention in an instant. The bullies blinked and stepped back, surprised by the soft glow that pulsed at the edges of the paper. The new student lifted one finger, and the notebook floated half an inch above his hand, pages fluttering like wings. Gasps echoed through the hallway as the bullies and other students stared, mouths open in shock. Wide-eyed, the bullies exchanged nervous glances, suddenly unsure of their next move. The student closed the notebook gently, and it settled back into his palm with a quiet thud. He spoke in a calm voice that echoed down the hallway, "Please don't touch my things without asking." His tone was firm but polite, surprising everyone who expected him to shrink away in fear. The lead bully took a step back, his smug grin disappearing as doubt filled his eyes. One of his friends tripped over a stray backpack strap and fell hard onto the tiled floor, drawing more laughter than he intended. The hallway buzzed with whispers as students shifted away from the group, giving the new boy space. Someone shouted, "Did you see that?" His notebook just flew, and a ripple of excitement spread. The new student carefully snapped the notebook shut and slid it back into his pocket. His shoulders relaxed slightly as he realized the bullies were no longer crowding him. The lead bully picked at his sleeve and muttered something the student could not hear. Another bully gave a weak chuckle and said, "Show us another trick, magician." The new student shook his head gently and replied, "No tricks. Just keep your hands to yourself." He turned and started walking down the hallway toward his locker, his steps steady and assured. The bullies watched him go, their faces a mix of anger and confusion at his calm response. The student reached his locker, set his bag down, and carefully placed the notebook inside. A soft glow pulsed once more as if the notebook approved of its new resting place. He clicked the lock shut and took a deep breath, offering himself a small smile. For the first time that morning, he felt something like hope flutter in his chest. As the final bell rang, students poured into the hallway, and the new student walked away with his secret safe and his head held high. The next morning, he entered Ms. Rivera's bright classroom carrying his secret notebook safely pressed against his chest, feeling a gentle flutter of excitement mixed with nerves as sunlight filtered through the tall windows and danced across the polished wooden floor. Rows of colorful posters celebrating famous authors and scientists lined the walls, each one reminding him of the endless possibilities waiting inside those pages, and he paused for a moment to admire a poster of Marie Curie before finding his seat. He chose a desk by the window where a soft breeze drifted in, ruffling the edges of his notebook cover and making the tiny constellations he had drawn their shimmer as if they were real. Two curious classmates seated nearby whispered to each other, their eyes drifting repeatedly toward the glowing patterns at the book's corners, and he offered them a polite smile that made their whispers hush in surprise. Ms. Rivera swept into the room with a stack of handouts and a warm greeting that filled the air with a sense of calm purpose, her voice gentle yet firm as she asked everyone to take out yesterday's homework. He opened his notebook to a fresh page marked with a simple star sketch, flipped through to the assignment section, and began writing neat answers to the math problems without missing a beat. Across the room, the three bullies from yesterday drifted in together, their heavy boots thudding quietly on the tiled floor as they dropped their backpacks by the back row and glared in his direction. He felt their stares but kept his head down, focusing on the pencil in his hand and letting the steady rhythm of writing calm the butterflies in his stomach. The faint glow from his notebook grew stronger as he solved a difficult fraction problem, the light pulsing softly with each correct answer in a way that felt like the pages were cheering him on. One of the bullies, curious and cautious, reached out his foot to nudge the student's desk, causing the notebook to slide slightly toward the edge before the boy caught it with a calm flick of his wrist. A hush fell over the class as everyone watched him settle the notebook back in place, its cover gently breathing light like a friendly creature resting in his hands. Ms. Rivera paused at the front of the room and asked if anyone needed help, and the new student raised his hand not to ask, but to offer guidance to a classmate struggling with the same problem he had just solved. The classmate beamed at him gratefully, and he felt a warm glow inside that matched the soft luminescence of the notebook as he explained the steps slowly and clearly. The bullies exchanged uneasy glances, their bravado faltering as they realized this quiet newcomer possessed both kindness and a power beyond their understanding. When Ms. Rivera announced it was time to switch to science, the student carefully closed his notebook, the glow dimming but not disappearing entirely, as if it understood that its magic belonged to him alone. He slid the notebook into his backpack, zipped it shut, and joined his classmates in a single-file line, heading down the hall toward the science lab, his steps measured and confident. The corridor buzzed with chatter about the school play and upcoming field trip, but a ripple of excited whispers trailed behind him, all wondering what extraordinary secret that notebook truly held. In the lab, glass beakers and glittering test tubes lined the shelves like treasures waiting to be discovered, and the smell of citrus cleaner mingled with the faint scent of experiments cooking on hot plates. Mr. Lee, the science teacher, greeted them with a twinkle in his eye and instructed everyone to choose a lab partner for today's experiment on chemical reactions. The new student joined with two classmates who looked eager to learn, placing his notebook carefully on the side desk before donning a pair of bright yellow safety goggles. They measured baking soda and vinegar precisely as Mr. Lee demonstrated, the mixture bubbling up quickly and creating a frothy cascade that made everyone laugh in delight. After the experiment, the student took out his notebook, flipped to a blank page, and sketched a detailed diagram of the reaction with neat labels and gentle lines glowing softly beneath his pencil. His partners watched in awe as the glow traced each arrow in the diagram, lighting up the edges of the page like a living map guiding them through the steps they had just taken. A hush settled over the group, broken only by Mr. Lee's voice praising their work and asking others to share what they observed during the reaction. The student explained clearly how the acid and base combined to form carbon dioxide gas, pointing at his glowing sketch and making the invisible reaction feel visible to every eye in the lab. The bullies hovered at the back of the room, arms crossed and faces drawn, unsure whether to laugh or bow their heads in respect for the boy who had tamed both numbers and chemicals. When class ended, the student carefully closed his notebook and tucked it back into his bag as he gathered his books, feeling the weight of its power settle comfortably at his side. As they filed out, the bullies approached him slowly, their earlier confidence replaced by a hesitant respect that made their usual jeers feel hollow. The leader cleared his throat and said, "Look, we don't understand it, but maybe it's cool what you can do." The student paused, removed his backpack, and pulled out the notebook with a gentle flourish, letting the cover glow bright enough to light up their surprised faces. He handed the book to the bully in a trusting gesture and said, "You can touch it as long as you promise to be kind and curious, not cruel." The bully's hand trembled as he opened the notebook, and the light shimmered across his fingers, filling him with a curious warmth he had never felt before. A soft gasp escaped him, and the other two bullies edged closer, their eyes wide with wonder instead of anger. The student smiled and said, "I wanted to share my secret because stories and magic are best when they bring people together." For the first time, the bullies looked at each other and smiled back, their tough exteriors melting away in the gentle glow of trust. They closed the notebook together and passed it back to him, nodding in agreement that they would protect its secret and use its power for good. With that, the three bullies and the new student walked down the hall side by side, their laughter echoing in a way that no one had expected and everyone would soon remember. The classroom doors remained open behind them, and students peeked out to see the unlikely group moving as friends rather than foes. In his chest, the student felt a swelling sense of belonging, knowing that his secret had not only kept him safe but also helped him make new friends. As they reached the main doors to head outside for lunch, he closed the notebook gently, its glow dimming to a soft pulse that reminded him that kindness and wonder would always light the path forward. The lunch bell rang loudly, and students poured into the sunny courtyard where benches waited under tall oak trees. The new student and the three bullies carried lunch trays and found the table near a patch of bright red flowers. They sat side by side, balancing their trays on the weathered wooden table that felt smooth under their palms. He unpacked a sandwich and apple slices while his friends nudged each other, still amazed by his glowing notebook. One bully asked quietly, "Will that book make our lunch glow too?" as he dipped a carrot into his ketchup. The new student smiled and set the notebook on the table, its cover shimmering softly in the afternoon light. The bullies leaned closer and watched as the notebook's glow spread across the polished wood, making tiny sparks dance. Curious classmates gathered nearby, whispering excitedly and peeking over shoulders to see this gentle magic unfold. The new student opened to a blank page and then traced a simple drawing of a daisy with careful strokes. The sunlight caught the pencil lines, and the daisy lifted off the page in a swirl of golden petals. The friends gasped as the small flower hovered over the table, spinning slowly before settling back like a toy. A teacher on break spotted the floating daisy and approached with wide eyes, her chalk-white hair tied neatly at the back. She gently tapped the notebook cover, and the daisy returned to its flat form with a soft sigh of light. The bullies exchanged glances, their previous teasing replaced by awe and genuine smiles of wonder. The student closed the notebook and said softly, "This is my secret, but you kept your promise to be kind." One bully nodded, then offered his apple slice as a sign of friendship that made everyone around smile. They passed around their lunch, sharing fries and fruit, and talked about their favorite games and shows. The new student listened closely, laughing at their jokes and feeling like he finally belonged somewhere. The other students stepped back, giving them space, but cheered quietly when the group waved them over. After they ate, the new student flipped to a page with a simple map of the school grounds. He showed his friends how the notebook could highlight routes in glowing lines, guiding them to hidden spots. The bullies and classmates followed as he held the book like a glowing compass pointing toward the playground slide. They discovered a hidden garden behind the gym, where ivy climbed old stone walls and frogs croaked softly. The sun warmed their faces as they explored, making their shadows dance among the bright green leaves. They reached a painted bench covered in names from past students and sat together to rest. The new students sketched a small frog on the page, and it hopped off the page into their laps. Everyone laughed as the tiny frog leaped across the grass, showing how gentle magic could bring joy. The bullies gently held the frog before letting it hop free among the flowers and reeds. A gentle breeze carried the frog away, and the group watched it vanish behind a tall fern. They stood together, feeling closer than ever, and promised to keep this secret garden their special place. As shadows grew longer, they realized it was almost time to head back to class. The new student closed his notebook, its glow fading to a soft pulse that felt like a heartbeat. The bullies each touched the cover in a silent promise to protect its magic and share kindness. They left the garden hand in hand, walking past the tall oak trees back toward the main building. Other students called out greetings as they passed, curious about the laughter and light dancing around them. The group re-entered the school with bright smiles and heads held high, ready for the afternoon lessons. Inside, the hallways felt brighter, not from the flashlight of the notebook, but from the warmth in their hearts. He placed the notebook in his backpack, feeling its magic settle like a warm blanket against his spine. The bullies waved goodbye as they reached their classrooms, each heading to a different class but together in spirit. The new student walked to his next lesson with confidence, knowing he had found friendship and his secret had found a home. In the brightly lit art classroom filled with shelves of paint jars, brushes, and easels with half-finished student paintings, the new student carefully removed his secret notebook from his backpack as curious classmates watched. He placed the notebook on the metal table beside his colorful sketchpad and flipped to a page covered in swirling pencil sketches that glowed softly under the fluorescent lights. The art teacher, Mr. Pereira, paused at the front and asked with gentle interest, "Would you like to share your drawing with the class today?" The new student nodded and turned the notebook, so the glowing image of a majestic phoenix rising from gentle waves shone brightly for everyone to see. A hush fell as the soft light from the phoenix spread across desks and walls, painting warm patterns that reminded everyone of sunrise and hope. One student gasped, "It looks alive," while another whispered, "How did you do that?" as excitement fluttered through the room. The three former bullies stood at the back, their usual smirks replaced by looks of genuine wonder and admiration for the magic notebook. In a steady voice, the new student explained, "I draw what I imagine, and this notebook helps my drawings come alive so others can see my dreams." Mr. Pereira smiled and said, Art is about sharing creativity, and you have a gift that helps all of us believe in what we dream. After class, classmates formed a line to see their favorite drawings glow, each page unfolding like a secret world of color and light. The student carefully closed the notebook to protect its glow, and his classmates' proud smiles made him feel safe and accepted at last. The lead bully stepped forward with a shy grin, offered a high five, and said, "That was amazing. Thank you for sharing it with us." The new student handed him a notebook and said softly, "Promise you'll always use its magic for kindness, never for fear or harm." The bully's eyes brightened as he nodded and tucked the notebook safely into his jacket pocket. At recess, they spread a blanket on the sunny field under tall oak trees and passed snacks around the softly glowing notebook. They talked about art ideas, school projects, and how they could help other students discover their talents, each idea shining brighter than the last. Later, the new student led them to the hidden garden behind the gym, where he sketched a gentle deer drinking from a small pond. The deer lifted off the page in a swirl of shimmering light, then nuzzled each friend before returning to the ivy-clad walls. Everyone laughed quietly as the deer scampered away, leaving a sparkle on the grass that faded like a happy memory. As afternoon lessons began, they returned to class feeling closer than ever and carrying a sense of wonder in their hearts. In language class, the student drew glowing illustrations of a classic fable on the blackboard, making the story leap off the page for all to see. His classmates followed along with renewed excitement as the glowing sketches guided them through each scene. When the final bell rang, students gathered their bags, many pausing to thank him for making learning feel like magic. Outside, the three friends walked home together under a sky painted in orange and pink, feeling proud and hopeful. The new student stopped at the school gate, looked back with a smile, and realized he had found a place where he belonged. One friend said, "Thank you for trusting us with your secret," and another added, "Your notebook is the best gift I've ever seen." They planned to meet in the hidden garden the next day, promising to practice art, share stories, and protect the magic together. As they walked home, the notebook pulsed gently in his bag like a heartbeat, reminding him that imagination and kindness were powerful. He arrived home, waved to his parents, and placed the notebook carefully on his desk, its cover glowing softly in the fading light. That night, he lay in bed thinking of every smiling face he had seen, feeling a warmth inside that matched the glow he saw when his eyes closed. He daydreamed about his next drawings, flying whales, dancing robots, and castles afloat on cloud kingdoms, each waiting to come alive. With a contented sigh, he drifted to sleep while the notebook rested beside him, its pulse slow and steady like a friendly lullaby. Moonlight filtered through the window, making the notebook shimmer faintly in the quiet room as if it were watching over him. Shadows stepped back from the soft glow, clearing space for warmth that spread from the cover into every corner of the room. In his dreams, he whispered, "Thank you for being my friend," as if the notebook understood and promised more adventures. Outside, a night breeze carried the scent of jasmine and distant laughter, and the world felt kinder because of the magic that glowed there. Somewhere beyond the stars, constellations seemed to wink in approval of his kindness and creativity, sending starlight to guide him onward. As dawn approached, he would wake to a new day full of classes, friends, and glowing possibilities that could chase away any fear. He knew tomorrow might bring new challenges or teasing voices, but his secret notebook and friends would stand by him no matter what. With that comforting thought, the boy slept soundly, secure in the knowledge that friendship, courage, and a little magic could brighten even the hardest days. The day of the school science fair arrived with bright banners hanging in the gym, and the new student carried his glowing notebook carefully under his arm as he entered. Tables filled the space, each one showcasing experiments with fizzling volcanoes, solar system models, and robot displays, and students buzzed with nervous excitement. The three bullies walked beside him, their usual swagger replaced by supportive smiles as they helped set up their group's table against a wall of blue curtains. They arranged beakers, measuring cups, and small speaker, all tools for their demonstration on sound waves and light reflections, as teammates hovered nearby. The new student placed his notebook on a stand at the center of their display, its cover pulsing softly like a beacon guiding visitors to their project. A line of classmates formed in front of their table, curious to see how the notebook would enhance the usual science fair demonstration. The new student opened to a page where he had drawn sound waves as glowing ripples in water, and the light from the notebook filled the ripples with shifting patterns. He tapped the page gently and spoke clearly into the speaker's microphone, explaining how sound waves travel through air, water, and solid objects. As he spoke, each word triggered a ripple in the notebook's display, making the drawn waves shimmer, rise, and fall in time with his voice. The judges leaned in, fascinated as the glowing waves moved like tiny tides in sync with the sound he made, perfectly illustrating his point. One judge asked how he created the waves so lifelike, and the new student smiled and said, "My notebook helps me share ideas by making drawings come alive." The judges nodded thoughtfully, impressed by both his knowledge and the gentle magic of his secret tool. His three former bullies stood proudly behind him, offering data printouts and answering questions about measurement accuracy. A classmate asked for clarification on decibels, and the student flipped to a page showing a decibel scale glowing from low to high with smooth color shifts. He pointed to the glowing scale and explained each level in simple words, making the concept easy for everyone to understand. Another judge tested the water ripple effect by clapping her hands near the notebook, and the waves vibrated in time with the sound. Children watching clapped along too, giggling as the glowing waves danced across the page in bright arcs. The student closed the notebook gently, and its glow settled into a warm hum as the judges moved on to other projects. At lunchtime, the group gathered by the windows with their trays, excitedly sharing their fair success and planning for the afternoon. One bully laughed and said, "I never thought I'd see the day when we'd be proud helpers at a science fair, but this is awesome." The student grinned and replied, "You're all great teammates. Thank you for believing in me and my notebook." After lunch, the group visited other tables, cheering on friends with robotic arms and solar ovens, feeling the fair's friendly energy. They stopped at a robotics table where a small car rolled forward, and the student sketched a glowing track on his notebook to guide its path. The car followed the glowing lines perfectly, surprising its builders and drawing cheers from onlookers. The fair volunteers gave them a gold ribbon for most creative demonstration, and the group beamed as they pinned it to their table. When the final bell rang, they packed up equipment and notebooks, proud of the teamwork they had shown and the knowledge they had shared. In the hall, other students congratulated them, and the bullies gave high fives to everyone who reminded them of how far they had come. The new student clipped a copy of the fair program to his backpack and said he would frame the ribbon at home as a reminder of their journey. They walked past the trophy case where past winners' photos smiled down, and for the first time, the student imagined his own photo there. Outside, the afternoon sun cast long shadows, and the group paused by the school doors to say goodbye before heading home. One friend asked if they could meet tomorrow to work on a joint art and science club idea, and the student nodded eagerly. He promised to bring his notebook and sketch new ideas for projects that combine light, sound, and motion. The bullies offered to spread the word among classmates to join their club, excited to help plan future activities. The student thanked them and said he looked forward to learning from each of their unique talents. As they parted ways, the notebook's glow pulsed softly in his bag, reminding him of the magic they had created together. That evening, he wrote in his journal about the day's events, listing every moment that had made him proud. He underlined the words friendship, kindness, and believing several times to remember their importance. Before bed, he placed the notebook beside his pillow, its cover glowing softly in the fading light. He drifted to sleep dreaming of the new club's first meeting, where he would share science and art with everyone. And in the last light of the night, the notebook's gentle pulse whispered promises of more adventures, more learning, and more friendship. The next Monday afternoon, the new student arrived at the hidden garden, carrying art supplies and science kits, as his three friends followed closely behind. They set up folding tables beneath the oak tree, laying out jars of glowing seedlings, jars of paint, brushes, test tubes, and magnifying glasses in neat rows. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled light on the colored pencils and glowing plants that lined the tables, creating a rainbow of art and science. At exactly 3:30, a small group of curious students arrived, drawn by the warm glow and laughter drifting from the garden walls. The new student greeted each visitor with a friendly nod, guiding them to a station where they could mix glowing pigment into water. His three friends welcomed newcomers, distributing gloves and safety goggles, and explaining how to paint seeds with the glowing mixture. One student carefully dipped a sunflower seed into the tube, watched as it glowed like a tiny star, and placed it into a glass jar of soil. The jars lined the table like miniature lanterns, each seed softly pulsing with color, and students gasped in delight at the sight. The new student handed out sketchbooks and pencils, encouraging everyone to draw the glowing seedlings in their own style. Laughter and conversation filled the air as classmates compared sketches, shared tips on shading, and marveled at each other's drawings. A group of younger students arrived next, timid at first, but warmed by the welcoming smiles and gentle glow. One shy girl placed her finger on a jar and whispered, "It feels warm," before sketching a glowing vine winding around her pencil. The three friends gathered small test tubes of clear liquid, demonstrating simple chemical reactions that changed color with a drop of special powder. Students watched as one beaker turned from blue to green and another bubbled with red foam, laughing at the colorful surprises. The new student explained that science and art could work together, showing a page from his secret notebook with glowing diagrams of chemical bonds. The notebook glowed brighter under the afternoon sky, drawing a crowd of curious onlookers who peered over shoulders to see the drawings. Each new member was invited to sign a guest list on a glowing poster board that shimmered under paint and marker. They passed around paintbrushes, mixing glow powder into acrylic paint and decorating smooth stones with constellations and simple circuit diagrams. A student accidentally spilled a little glowing paint on her shoe, giggled, and used a paper towel to gently lift it away. The group paused to admire the painted stones, placing them at the base of the oak tree like little glowing satellites. Next, the new student demonstrated how to use a magnifying glass and a small LED to observe the color changes in chemical indicators. His friend helped hand out lenses and LED flashlights, making sure everyone could take turns and see the rainbow effects. In between activities, they shared snacks from homemade treat bags, washing their hands and cleaning tables as they went. A gentle breeze stirred the trees, and the glowing seedlings tipped slightly in their jars, reminding everyone of nature's own magic. As the sky shifted towards sunset, the new student guided the group through a silent moment, watching the glowing plants blink on and off. The hush held for a few seconds until someone whispered, "It's like watching fireflies in a jar," and everyone smiled in agreement. Then the laughter returned, and they worked together to place numbered labels on each jar, charting growth for the next meeting. One friend suggested inviting art students to paint portraits of the seedlings, and another friend volunteered to bring more plant seeds. They took a group photo with a glowing backdrop, marking the first official meeting of Glow and Grow Club. Each member received a glowing sticker shaped like a leaf, promising to return every Monday to learn and create. As the meeting ended, they gathered their supplies and folded the tables, careful to collect every brush and beaker. The new student closed his secret notebook, its glow dimming to a steady pulse as its pages rested after a busy day. They walked back through the school gates together, their laughter echoing and new members thanking them for the fun. Outside the garden, a teacher on duty smiled approvingly as she watched them head home under the warm evening sky. The friends waved goodbye to the new members, promising to see them next week with fresh ideas and glowing projects. At home, the new student wrote in his journal about the first meeting, highlighting moments of friendship and discovery. He underlined words like collaboration, inspiration, and growth, grateful for the supportive community they had built. Before bed, he placed his notebook by the window, its cover glowing softly in the moonlight as if whispering good night. He closed his eyes, dreaming of glowing butterflies and chemical rainbows that the club would explore next time. With a smile on his face, he vowed to keep sharing his secret gift, knowing that curiosity and kindness would always light the path. The day of the big school assembly arrived with excitement humming through every hallway as students in crisp uniforms filed into the auditorium and settled into neat rows of seats under the high ceiling. The new student and his three friends carried their glowing notebook, a display of softly pulsing seedlings in glass jars, and a handful of painted stones to the stage, pausing in the wings as bright stage lights snapped on. A hush fell over the crowd when the principal stepped forward, welcomed everyone, and then invited the Glow and Grow Club to share their project, prompting a ripple of curious murmurs through the seats. The new student placed his secret notebook on a small podium center stage, its gentle blue light casting warm patterns across the polished wood floor and reflecting in the wide eyes of his classmates. He took a deep breath, smiled at the audience of hundreds of faces, and began by explaining how his drawings and the notebook's magic combine art and science to reveal hidden wonders in everyday things. One friend passed jars of luminous seedlings down the aisle to volunteers in the front row, who studied each glowing sprout and gasped as its soft light danced across their palms. Another friend handed out smooth stones painted with constellations and chemical diagrams, encouraging students to hold them up and see how the symbols shimmered under the stage lights. The third friend tapped a small projector to life, projecting vivid images from the notebook onto a large screen behind them, where glowing sketches of frogs, flowers, and root systems wove together in an animated tableau. The audience leaned forward, entranced, as each sketch bloomed into life. Frog legs flexed, petals unfurled, and root networks glowed in branching patterns that spoke of hidden life underground. Then the new student gently tapped the notebook cover and demonstrated how he could trace the invisible path of water through soil, the glowing diagram pulsing in time with his measured words about roots and nourishment. He spoke clearly and simply about seed germination, nutrient flow, and the cycle of life, using the notebook's living illustrations to show each stage so everyone could follow along without confusion. Two judges from the science fair are in the front row. They exchange impressed glances as they watch the interactive diagrams respond to the students' questions about pH levels and light absorption. A group of younger students in the second row spotted cartoon bees buzzing around a glowing flower drawn in the notebook. They pointed and whispered excitedly, their faces lit with wonder. The principal stepped forward again, asked to try the magic herself, and the new student handed her the notebook with a gentle smile as a wave of light washed over the stage. When she opened it, a glowing map of the school garden appeared, highlighting secret paths and hidden nooks, causing everyone to lean in and marvel at the level of detail. Applause erupted as she closed the notebook and handed it back, praising the students for their creativity, teamwork, and for showing everyone that learning could feel like magic. One of the former bullies, now a proud member of the club, shared how he had once feared the notebook's power but learned that respect and curiosity could turn fear into friendship. The auditorium lights dimmed briefly as the new student closed the notebook, letting its afterglow ripple around them like a gentle wave of calm reassurance. He then invited anyone interested to join the club, promising weekly meetings where art and science would meet to spark imagination in every student, regardless of skill or background. Hands shot up all around the room. Students from every grade waved and called out, eager to sign up and explore the glowing possibilities together. After the assembly, a line stretched down the hallway as dozens of students waited to learn more, ask questions, and pick up flyers decorated with glowing leaf patterns and sketch prompts. The group stayed late to talk with every student who came by, explaining how to mix safe glowing solutions, sketch in the notebook without fear, and share their own ideas freely. As they packed up their supplies on the empty stage, the new student felt a warm surge of pride knowing their secret had become a gift for the entire school. Backstage, the friends high-fived each other, their laughter echoing in the empty wings, while the glowing notebook rested quietly on the podium, its light pulsing like a satisfied heartbeat. In the hallway outside, younger students waved and cheered, promising to meet them in the hidden garden after school to see the magic up close once more. The new student slipped the notebook into his bag, careful not to jostle it, and felt its glow settle into a steady glow that matched his calm excitement. The bullies turned friends draped arms over each other's shoulders as they walked down the hall toward their next classes, their voices soft but happy. They paused at the trophy case, imagining their club's display shining next to trophies from other school teams, picturing a brass plaque that read, "Glow and Grow, most inspiring." One friend suggested starting a morning club for early arriving students to draw glowing sketches before the day began, an idea met with enthusiastic nods. Another friend offered to design glowing bookmarks filled with pocket-sized magic, promising to sketch dragons, stars, and flowers for anyone who asked. The new student said he would draw animals and plants that could come alive in readers' hands, spreading wonder through simple curiosity and gentle light. They parted ways at the main entrance, promising to meet in the garden the next Monday at the same time to plan the yearbook page and upcoming science fair entry. As he walked home under the late afternoon sun, the new student thought about every smiling face he had seen, each one proof that kindness and learning could banish fear. At home, he told his parents about the assembly success and how students from every grade had cheered for his club, earning curious looks and proud nods. He placed the glowing notebook on his desk where he could see its pulse through his open door, promising himself that he would continue to share its magic wisely. That night, he lay in bed sketching ideas in his mind, glowing butterflies that traced constellations, puddles that reflected chemical reactions, and sketches that whispered stories. He drifted to sleep imagining the hidden garden glowing like a secret oasis, filled with fellow explorers eager to learn, create, and discover together. Moonlight filtered through his window, mingling with the notebook's faint glow to light the quiet room with soft, friendly warmth. In his dreams, he whispered, "Thank you for bringing me friends," as the notebook's pulse seemed to respond with a gentle promise of more adventures. He slept soundly, confident that wherever he went, on stage, in class, or under the oak trees, he would always carry the light of friendship, curiosity, and gentle magic. The final week of classes arrived, and the hidden garden glowed brighter than ever as seedlings painted in magic solution reached toward the warm sunlight under the tall oak tree. Members of the Glow and Grow Club gathered one last time together, their laughter ringing through the courtyard while they carefully tended jars of luminous plants and painted stones. The new student led a circle under the oak tree, where they reviewed every project they had completed, from simple chemical reactions to floating flower sketches that danced in the breeze. Friends and new members joined hands, forming a ring around the table covered in art supplies, test tubes, and a glowing notebook that pulsed like a friendly heart in the center. One friend brought fresh paint jars, another carried new seeds, and someone else set out extra gloves and goggles to make sure everyone could join in the final celebration. The new student opened his notebook to a page filled with planned ideas for summer workshops, where children of all ages could learn to mix glow powder and sketch scientific diagrams. A gentle blue light spread across smiling faces as they read the summer plans, imagining endless possibilities of projects, from glowing constellations on stones to dancing chemical rainbows. They picked up small brushes and dipped seeds into glowing solution one last time, feeling the warm glow pulse through their fingertips as they painted life's blueprint. Jars lined the wooden planks in a neat row, each labeled with a date and a small drawing of the plant inside, marking every stage of growth in the quiet garden. The new student explained how knowledge and art were linked by curiosity, whispering softly that magic was simply the world's way of sharing wonder with those who asked. Bulbous jars of luminescent seedlings caught the dappled light, and the group watched in awe as each sprout shimmered, reflecting hopes they had penciled in the notebook. A shy classmate placed his finger on the glowing cover, and the notebook responded with a soft pulse that felt like an encouraging heartbeat of creativity. They passed around painted stones etched with simple circuit diagrams, proving that art could show science's hidden patterns in bright, playful ways. One friend held up a glowing map of the school grounds, sketched in the notebook to guide anyone lost back to the secret garden of discovery. Visitors who wandered and found handfuls of glowing seedlings and stones, and they joined the circle to learn how to mix, paint, and sketch their own glowing secrets. The group demonstrated a quick chemical experiment, stirring baking soda and vinegar in a bowl as children watched the resulting froth glow under a flashlight. Younger siblings who came with their brothers and sisters gasped in delight, their eyes wide as the glowing foam flickered like tiny neon fireworks. The new student showed how to sketch reaction diagrams on notebook pages, tracing glowing arrows that danced in time with the bubbling mixture. Parents in the garden took turns signing their names on a glowing guest book, promising to return and share the magic of curiosity with new friends. A teacher from another school whispered that she wanted to create a similar club in her classroom, amazed by how kindness and science had grown together. As afternoon turned to evening, lanterns lined the path to the garden, and the group closed their celebration with a silent moment, watching the glow gently fade. They bowed their heads and said a soft thank you to the notebook for guiding them and to each other for sharing dreams and discoveries. The new student slid the notebook back into his backpack, feeling its pulse rest beneath the fabric like a quiet promise of more adventures ahead. One friend passed out small cards with glowing stickers, reminders that curiosity and collaboration could light up any dark corner. They hugged in a big group embrace, feeling the warmth of friendship as the sky turned pink and orange with the setting sun. The hidden garden, once a quiet secret, now felt like a welcoming home for anyone who longed to learn and create. With gentle care, they packed away paints, brushes, jars, and science tools, storing them safely for next season's club meetings. The new student looked around at every smiling face, his heart feeling bright and full as the glow of the notebook flickered softly in his bag. He whispered to his friends, "Let's remember that magic lives in each of us, waiting to be shared with kindness and wonder." They walked out of the garden together, stepping into the cool evening air and promising to return when summer days were new. Laughter followed them down the walkway as they planned to meet at the sunflower patch to sketch glowing flowers and chart their growth. The new student imagined drawing glowing butterflies fluttering above the school gates and under bridges, carrying smiles wherever they flew. He thought of future notebooks filled with glowing inventions, floating lanterns that cleaned park water, dancing flower robots that pollinated gardens. His mind sparkled with ideas as bright as the neon seedlings that lined the garden bench, each one a spark of creativity waiting to ignite in young hearts. At home that night, he described the closing ceremony in his journal, underlining friendship, exploration, and imagination with glowing gel pens. He placed the notebook on his bedside table, its cover glowing faintly like a soft night light guiding his dreams. Moonlight brushed against the pages, and constellations he had drawn seemed to wink back, promising more stories under starlit skies. As he drifted to sleep, he whispered, "Thank you for showing me the power of sharing secrets, and the garden's magic felt like a gentle hug. Tomorrow the world would feel a little brighter because anyone could join Glow and Grow and find that magic lives where kindness shines. With a final smile, he fell asleep, ready to dream of glowing seeds, floating sketches, and friendships that would grow forever, feeling proud of their journey.